Hi everyone, I'm David and today I'm gonna introduce you how to use the Lucida platform to solve the user's input. And so at first I'm gonna introduce two basic concepts of our Lucida platform. So one is the workflow, and for each workflow, the work it can just solve one type of input questions from the user's input. For example, it can solve the weather problem or the music problem or the question and answer issues, and it can solve one kind of that problem. And the second concept is the microservice, and for the workflow it was based on the microservices, and inside the workflow it will just call different kind of microservices, and then it can just judge the return value from the microservices, and then you can just do some other process to get the final result that you need to send to the user. And yeah, I think that's the basic idea of our design. And so now let's begin. So today I'm gonna just demo you the most simplest workflow, which just contain only one microservice there, and all the workflow is like you just get the input from the website, and then you set input to query the microservice, and then get the result from microservice, and then put in the result to the user. And that's the most basic workflow. And now let's begin. So first, open terminal and go to the Lucida folder. And assume that you're being just having a Lucida folder being built ready. So what you need to do is make start Lucida. Now just check the website. And now you can just log in with your username and password. So I'm just gonna use mine. Now it's here, and now you can see there's no service and service and workflow register there. And also here, the learn is the page for you to let the microservice learn the knowledge. And here's the invert page, which you can just put it in input, and Lucida platform will just call the specific workflow, and the workflow will call different kind of microservices, and then getting the final result and giving that to the user. So what we need to do is to adding our new workflow and new microservice inside there. Now let's begin. Since we just built a user-friendly GUI for you, so it will be very efficient for you to adding a new workflow and the microservices. Now let's just begin. So go to the Lucida folder and start GUI. Now see that the GUI is started, and since we're right now using the local version of Lucida, let's click on the local. And now there are three options: the workflow, microservice, and black box. The first two have been just explained before, and for the black box I'll just introduce later. So right now let's just click on the workflow and go to workflow here. So what we need to do is to adding a new workflow. So click on the new, and now you can see that there's the workflow setup, and now click on here to go inside that workflow to finish the settings there. And so here click on the name and change the name to QA workflow. And now here's the type for the workflow that can accept it. And so right now it is only the text, which is what we want, so don't need to change that. And here is the data path. So I'll just first change that to what I want and then explain later. And now I'll just show you what does this file look like. So here's data, and you can see that these are the sample questions that for the QA workflow. So if the user's input query is quite similar like this one, then it will just classify into this class, and then it will just call the QA workflow, and the QA workflow will solve the query for you. Now let's save that. And the final step is to just create a state graph for our workflow. So click on the state graph. Now you can see that at first it was empty, and what you need to do is click on the N on the keyboard, which means the new state. Then check the new state to the center, and now you can see that it is blue because it is selected. And then when it's blue, click on the M. Now you can just modify the setting of that state. So right now the first sentence I'll just explain to you. So it will just call the QA work microservice with the default value, how it is Johan, and then it will just put in the return value to this dictionary, the batch data return with the key pug. Then the conditional args is another dictionary that is used for the branched processing, but since it is a basic workflow, it does not contain any branch, so I'll just explain it later. And the self.return means it will just return it just represents the value that will return to the user. So right now it just set up as the conditional args, the key is a pug. And what you need to change is to change the default value, how it is Johan into, let's see, input modify fire text 0. This means that, as you can see from the info site on the website, there's a box there. So the input modify text 0 means that you just get the text from that box and sending them to the QA. And the QA will just get the result and store in the pugs, the batch data return pug, and now we'll just return this value. And now we have finished our settings for the state graph, and now let's just save that and close it. And then go back. Now the workflow has been set up ready. What's next is to just create the microservices, and click on the microservices and click on the new and change the name into QA. And the runtime means that this microservice can accept the knowledge of learning with the type of text or image. So let's click on that. Now I change the text. It is what we want because the QA service can accept the text knowledge. And the input type is the type that is for the input for these microservices. And now click on the new. Another box just appeared. That's the instance for our QA. So actually for QA service we can have different instances, and this instance can just work together to solve the parallel issue, and it can just allow the user to query the QA service all of these kind of instances together, or just choose one. It can all be setting, and that can help you to solve for the load balancing issue. And now let's click on here and change the box name into QA1, and the IP port, which is I'll just set into localhost and the port number is arbitrary, and you can just set it as 88. Close it. And here, the final step is to set up the location. I'll just first typing and then explain later. And that's the path. Let's see. It is a path for the source code of our QA system. It's right over there. And I'll just close it. And now what we need have been set up, ready. And then we go to the website and click on the update. Now the information has been updated. So right now the Lucida platform have the QA workflows registered and the QA microservice ready. But you can see that the availability is still stop. So we need to start the QA instance, right? And that's the black box option. So let's click on that. And here's the microservice which is the QA. And here you can see that that's the instance that we created. And we'll click on that. Here's the option called start. So now click on the start. Now we just pop up a window and start the microservice of QA instance. I'm sorry. We'll probably need to wait about 30 seconds. Now it's running now, and we close that. And then we just check it again. Now the availability just changes to running. And that's all we need for our workflow. Yeah, it's very easy to just register your own workflow. Now let's test it. So here you can just ask what you want. So for example, how old is like James? And ask. It'll just take some time to process the data. It shows that the answer is not found. So now let's just go to the learn page and let the QA service learn the knowledge, like James is 14 years old. Let's add this knowledge and then go to the info page and ask it again. Click on the ask again, and now it will just show you the answer you want. Yeah, James is 14 years old, that you've been learning that knowledge right now. And here, that's the most simplest workflow that you can just work for our Lucida platform. And you can just create a more complicated workflow which just contain some different kind of logic, like self looping, which means that it will just continue to ask you when you get the answer that you want. Or it can have the conditional branch, which can just, in that one state, it can just query two microservice, and it will just go to another state only if these two microservices have some specific answer or whatever, this can all be set up with the state graph there. And right now I just show you the most simplest one, and you can just explore it with that GUI later. And thanks for watching, and hope you just really get enjoying in this Lucida platform. Thank you.